Hello, I'm Darren, I'm from Movie Reviews 101, and today we're going to bring the roundup of the ABC Film Challenge for August, which was the sci-fi genre. Now this is a task I have been going along with on my website for the whole year. We've done different genres already, so we've touched on action, animation, world cinema, but now I want to try and bring the roundup to YouTube. We are going to continue this year with September romance, October's obviously horror, we can't not do horror. November I'm going to do comedy, and I'm calling for people to join me for the last month of December, where we look at the most anticipated things we want to see in film. That could be movies, characters, actors, anything you want to fill out the alphabet, and of course numerical. So for this roundup, I'm just going to go through the movies, give a little bullet point of what I thought, if I remember them, because some of these I did watch well over a year ago, and I've added them in here as my first time reviews, with a couple of exceptions, because certain letters are a lot harder than others. I wanted nearly all of these to be first time watches, and again there is 2 exceptions on this list, actually 3 exceptions. And so yeah, without further ado, we're going to go through. We start this with the obvious letter. We have A. And for A, I picked the movie Autumn, which is a zombie type movie. This is one of these that for some reason I've watched 3 or 4 times and had never really either watched from the beginning or to the end. And I'd ended up watching all the way through and it's just forgettable. Not going to lie. And a lot of these movies are going to be bad because I do like trying to find myself a few trashy sort of horror sci-fi movies, and a few from certain companies that don't use much budget. We won't mention that name until we get to the first one. So that was the first one. If you have seen Autumn and any of these movies, let me know if they're good or bad in the comments below. For B, I have The Beast of the Bering Sea, and here is the first from the Asylum. This one has sea vampires. Do we need much more to know about this movie than we have sea vampires? It is the definition of just guilty, trashy horror sci-fi that we love to watch. I recommend this one if you like your Sharknadoes and stuff like that, especially as the lead is Nova from the Sharknado films. For C, I picked Cube Zero. This is the prequel of the Cube trilogy. This is one I had seen. It's the one I watched first, which is the one I really like because of the concept of the guy trying to help them get out of the Cube world. The special effects are good. We know the Cube movies. They are a lot of fun. A very underrated trilogy. For D, we have Daylight's End. This is another sort of is this zombie or vampire? This tells us explains why there were so many that are just there. It's one that's completely gone from my memory. It tells you how forgettable this movie really is. But I believe it was some sort of either night vampire zombie things where you could only survive during a day or night. Great explanation here. So this go really well. Wait till we get to later in the alphabet when I've completely forgotten about one of these movies. For E, I picked Earth for Echo. This is blatantly an E.T. rip-off with a robot. Yes, it's cute and sweet. 3 kids find a robot, have to put it back together so he can go free. Simple. It is a good little one. I found this one on Netflix. It's one that's been on my radar for a few years. Recommend watching it. F is for Fire in the Sky. This is one that's got one of those huge reputations of being so disturbing. It is from the early 90s, based on a true story about a man who believed he was abducted by aliens, and the after effects of this. And the scary bit is when you're on the spaceship and you see what's happening. This one is also on Netflix, so if you do want to see a sci-fi movie with a bit of an edge, check out Fire in the Sky. For G, I picked Gadget Gang in Outer Space. This, I believe, was a Brazilian animated movie that I was using on my animation collection, but ended up here because it's a sci-fi movie. This is one that's going to keep the kids happy, and that's probably about it. It's not that special, but it's not a terrible one, so try and check that one out if you like your animation. For H, I picked Halo 4, and whatever the subtitle was, because it was rubbish. I've never played a Halo game. I thought I'd try one of the movies, because some of them can translate well if you do them the right way. This one's not. It was just a late night sci-fi movie I watched, and it was boring. For I picked Infamy. I can't remember anything about this movie. I'm honest, it's just gone. This is one of the first ones I watched on this challenge, and it's blanked. Look at the poster and see what you think. For J, I picked Journey to Dinosaur Island, which I believe is another animated movie, where we follow a couple of kids who end up going to a dinosaur island. Wow, I think there was some time travel in there somewhere. Another little cute little animation one that came from nowhere. Again, Disney monopolised this quite a lot. We have DreamWorks, of course, but there are some little ones that are under the radar that could get the younger audience entertained. For K, I picked Kill Command. I'm not gonna lie, this was watched because Vanessa Kirby was in it, and we all know how good she is in The Queen, and the most recent Mission Impossible Fallout. She is going to have a very bright future. This one sort of focuses on an AI that has taken over the world, and the last remaining humans are trying to fight them down, but they get smarter. Yeah, and it's simple enough, technology taking over. For L, we went back again. We went for Life Force. This is a British movie that focuses on an alien that comes to the planet and causes havoc. They're found in outer space, brought back, comes to life, walks around naked because aliens don't care, and just sucks the life out of people. Simple enough, turns people a bit violent. Bit of an explanation to the fears that were going around about space travel at the time. For M, we have Meteor. This is one of those low budget, I say low budget, probably big budget for the time, disaster movies that was going around in the 70s. It is not very good. It is simple in it, but if you like disaster movies, you will enjoy this one. For N, returning to Netflix for a classic. Well, I say a classic, it's from the 90s. It's Neon City. This one is a Michael Ironside leading role, where the world has been destroyed because post-apocalypse happens a lot. And we follow him as he reluctantly tries to escort someone to the last remaining good place. And you have bandits and stuff and radiation stuff. They have some really clever radiation weather that could destroy you if you're in it too long. I like that. It's one that's dated, could easily have a remake without being one that's just, here's a remake, love us. There is some technological stuff that could work really well in this one. For O, we hit Netflix once again, and this could well be the best of the new watches for me. And this is Other Life. This follows a young woman who has been working on something where they could create something in your head that could make time flash. You could live it in your mind so many years, but it'd be like a day or an hour. And the idea is that she would want to bring it into prison sentences and try and help. Well, she wants to, no, government won't use it for prison sentences. She wants to try and use it to reconnect people stuck in comas and everything, which is her brother. But when she tries to use it on her friend, she kills him and ends up having to go through the punishment as an experiment. But there's a nice little twist, and it's very, very clever, this one. If you like Black Mirror, you're going to love this one. For P, we went trashy again. We had Piranaconda. Yes, baby, we had a anaconda with a piranha head. Michael Madsen. Why do this to yourself, Mike? You were great. You were in Reservoir Dogs, and now you're doing Piranhaconda. Why? It's so bad, this one. It's one of the ones that fails miserably. For Q, we had to cheat because cheating is easy, right? We had Quantum Leap. Yes, it's one of the most famous culty sci-fi shows ever, where one man goes into different people's bodies as he is stuck going through time. It's one that could really do with a modern remake with technology on its side and still maintain the heart that the original had. For R, we went with Robot Overlords. This is a book adaptation, I believe it was, and it has, I want to say it had Ben Kingsley in it, but it was about robots have taken over the world and you're not allowed out your houses or they'll kill you. And they start trying to fight back and they finally figure out a way that could save humanity. Yay, humanity! Okay, this was one that went a bit, it had potential to be a big franchise and just sort of wasn't that entertaining. For S, we went with Stealth. This is that classic movie where we have the fighter pilots in special planes that decide that they have a mind of their own, and only the few pilots who fly the free planes can save them. Starring Jessica Biel, Jamie Foxx, and I believe it was Josh Lucas. Again, if he was the star, if you remember his name, you know how well this movie did. It is one of those that's got a terrible reputation for being forgettable. It was a box office bomb, and it's just a Top Gun rip-off, and not very good. For T, we have Tao. This is a movie I have reviewed on the channel. It follows a woman who must live in a house after being kidnapped that is run by a computer and owned by a genius who's trying to do something by experimenting on her. There are a few good questions, and it has all the potential in the world. It just fell a little bit short with certain aspects. For you, we went with Underdog, the comic book movie about the superhero Dog, voiced by Jason Lee, as he takes on an evil Peter Dinklage and Patrick Warburton as his bumbling assistant. This is a good little kids movie, one for the family. It has a few adult jokes, but it will make you laugh in places. For V, we went to Netflix once again. Oh hell, saviour Netflix, for Viral. And this follows two sisters who are left alone once something happens and they get quarantined and something's gone on in the world. There is some sort of virus taken over the world, hence the title Viral, and it's them trying to figure out how to live their lives as they're not allowed to leave their home, or they could become infected, but the virus is spreading and getting more infectious to the surrounding area, etc, etc. It is a good little one to watch if you like virus spreading movies, but otherwise you probably could get away with a skip on this one. For W, we went back to one of the most underrated modern sci-fi movies, I think, and that is the Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds. This is one I had never actually reviewed on the site, so I went back to see it, and I can't believe this is only a 12 because the opening sequence has some of the most shockingly graphic deaths you'll see. It does just keep rolling, this movie. It's very good. It's really, I know the War of the Worlds ending is always a bit cheap and a bit of a cop-out for people who wanted, but it showed for once that humans were vulnerable and there was no human saviour to everything, which is nice to see. And I know the legacy of the radio show, which created terror around the world. So yeah, nice pick for this one. For X, we cheated again. We're going to go with X-Force from Deadpool 2. Yeah, I could have done an X-Men, but I always do X-Men. So I didn't want to do X-Files. Hate me. But for X-Force, it's one of the funniest scenes of the movie because we hype up that we're bringing this big team together, they're going to be the saviours, and then the shit hits the fan. It's a good watch, this just for the comedy moments and including the A-list cameo in the middle of it. For why we went character, you may know him. He's from this little movie called Star Wars. His name's Yoda. Okay, Yoda has become one of the big cultural icons of sci-fi throughout the years. Everybody knows who he is. It's just somebody we look at and go, Star Wars. He was the mentor to Luke, of course, and other Jedis, so we have to include some form of Star Wars in this. For Zed, we went with Zephora, the sequel to Jumanji. They claim it's done by the same author. It is a space board game where we have a young Josh Hutcherson from the Hunger Games, and he ends up playing the game with his sisters, and they end up in space, and they have to try and survive in their house floating around space with a crazy pilot astronaut who was actually quite funny in this movie, even though I believe it was Dax Shepard. Yeah, it might have been. It's been a while again, this one, so yeah, it was quite funny. And finally, for the number round, I went to one of my favourite movies of all time. I wanted to rewatch 28 Days Later. This was the movie that reinvented the zombie genre to give us the rage zombies where they're just aggressive and constantly running. Yes, it's been overused now, it could be said, but this one just changed everything. Every zombie movie we had seen had been very much in America, and to see a London that abandoned, and we just follow a couple of people who try and survive, end up meeting bad people. You know the story. The zombies aren't the biggest threat in the world of a zombie outbreak. That's what the message for me was. I know there is a sequel, but it's not as good as this one. So that has been my ABC Film Challenge for Sci-Fi Roundup. Let me know if you've seen any of these movies and whether you can tell me what the hell Infamy was about. If you want to join this, I encourage you to come and try your luck at this. I had a friend on the writing side, Movie Rob, give me Gravity and Logan's Run. One I've seen, one I haven't. So you can bring anything you want. You could bring one of your favourites or brand new view. It is all up to you. We just want to try and get the conversation going for the best, the worst, and probably for most of these, the forgettable movies that are worth a mention anyway. I have been Darren. I will be back for the romance round next month. Yes, because that's my favourite genre of movies. But until next time, I'm out.